Hello, this is QTV Nightly News coming to you from our studios on Kairaba Avenue, and I am Jul Denjai. Thank you for joining us. Here are the main news headlines. 3 arrest key contractors working on the OIC Roads construction project have died after they were hit by a car on Monday. As negotiations intensified at the ongoing WTO MC13 in Abu Dhabi, Gambia's Minister of Trade, Babukar Ojuv, has pleaded for constructive engagements with members to facilitate the adoption of the G90 framework. At its quarterly meeting to assess economic developments and monetary policy, the Central Bank of the Gambia has maintained the monetary policy rate at 17%. MRC Unit the Gambia has upgraded to international standard its insectary, which is where scientists at the unit study insects to limit or reduce the spread of infectious diseases in Africa. In international news today, the 1st of March is Zero Discrimination Day, commemorated annually to accelerate the strides made in the fight against stigma and promote equality. These and other stories coming ahead in the next half an hour. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, this is QTV News with me, Jul Denjai. And now to the stories. 3 arrest key contractors working on the OIC Roads construction project have died after they were hit by a car on Monday. This was confirmed at a press briefing on Friday, where it was also revealed that the project is about 80% complete. Here is Jenaba Sonko with the details.
The stretch of road on which the men were walking is part of the key priority projects of the OIC, which is the construction of a 22-kilometer road from the airport junction through Battle Haddon Highway to Sting Corner, and the construction of 20 new roads within the Greater Banjul area. The roads are meant to improve traffic circulation leading to and around the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center in anticipation of the summit. El Safa El Fadol, resident engineer, gives an update on the road construction project.
And now the progress is around 80%. 80% from total. Now we are finished all the asphalt up to kilometer 6 here, up to kilometer 7. We will be finished the second layer, first and second layer, and the remaining part will be completed maybe up to end of April. Maybe we'll finish that and everything will be okay.
Although the roads construction project is not fully completed, some sites are open for use. Since the opening, there has been a prevalence of road traffic accidents. Here is Ndene Nying, Health, Safety and Environment Manager.
A document called Health and Safety Plan. And also another document, Environment and Social Management Plan. Studies were done to develop those plans, and these plans also, once they were done, we have developed what we call Traffic Management Plan. All these documents are comprehensively done, very good documents that we share with the stakeholders. At the end of the day, these documents were all validated.
Even as our road infrastructure is being upgraded, we are witnessing a concerning record of traffic accidents with many lives being lost. The key words summarizing the problem are road safety and attitude of road users, particularly motorists. 2 Senegalese and 1 Guinean rescue road constructors were killed after being hit by a driver on an OIC road construction site on Monday. Ndene Nying gives details of the tragic incident.
Unfortunately, this driver was coming from Sukuta going towards Bruce Biton Table, and according to the reports, he was on his phone. So unfortunately, he hit the first victim. That guy dies immediately. The other two victims, he knocked them. There was one of our trucks which was parking off the road at about 30 meters from where they are. He drove direct to underneath the vehicle with those 2 guys. Crossed them with underneath the truck, totally. Even we have to open up his bonnet to remove the bodies from inside his car.
Areski is a pioneering construction company in West Africa, and since its birth in 1962, Areski has always been a proud supporter of prestigious projects in Senegal, Guinea-Bissau and the Gambia. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Basonko.
May their souls rest in perfect peace. Now, as negotiations intensify at the ongoing WTO MC13 in Abu Dhabi, Gambia's Minister of Trade, Baboucarr Ojuf, during his intervention on behalf of the APC-LDC group at the General Council session, Thursday pleaded for constructive engagements to facilitate the adoption of the G90 framework. And Sumane Esonyasi is at the WTO MC13 in Abu Dhabi, and he tells us more.
Minister Juve's selection as the representative of the least developed countries, LDCs, and the Africa, Caribbean and Pacific ACP members enunciates Gambia's leadership credentials on a global stage. Trade Minister Juve argues that like other economies, LDC ACP members' main motive for joining the global multilateral trading institution is to improve trade, provide employment opportunities, address poverty and raise the standard of living in their respective countries. Hence the need for the General Council to strongly consider their case.
Members should be realistic in addressing LDC trade concerns and their development. The sudden withdrawal of flexibilities could easily cripple many aspiring economies. Therefore, the ACP Group stands ready to adopt the partial decision on Annex 2 here in Abu Dhabi that would begin to address the 17 proposals in Annex 2. We are delighted to join the consensus on yet another milestone on LDC graduation following the adoption of Annex 1 in October last year in the General Council.
And while he acknowledges gains made at the ongoing Abu Dhabi convergence, he also advocates for constructive engagements with members for the adoption of key paragraphs in the G90 instrument.
Mr. Chair, we want to be clear. Our aspiration for a meaningful outcome is high on SPS and TBT matters and all ASPs. However, MC13 will never come back. Therefore, we want to seize this opportunity to bring new light to the organization that has not been producing outcomes for a while. Let me assure you that the group is committed to engaging constructively with all our development partners to arrive at an outcome for a G90 declaration or decision on SPS and TBT in Abu Dhabi.
Furthermore, Minister Juve stresses the need to deliver on the objectives of the instruments tabled before the general membership at their various sessions, and once more reiterates calls for members to unite as they deliberate on key policy issues.
Research and experience have shown that most developing countries in transition were taken aback in their economic and development status upon graduation. On similar notes, most LDCs are ill-equipped to navigate into the developing country category. Therefore, appropriate measures must be instituted within the WTO that would safeguard such members' development interests upon graduation from the LDC category.
On the sidelines of the conference, the Gambian delegation Thursday held 2 bilateral meetings with WTO leaders, including Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, WTO Director General. Ahead of the closing session on Friday, members are expected to intensify negotiations and advocacy for the institution of instruments that align with their domestic trade blueprints. Reporting from Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, Ansumana Nyasi for KTV News.
Now, at its quarterly meeting to assess economic developments and monetary policy, the Central Bank of the Gambia has maintained the monetary policy rate at 17%, with the aim of stabilizing the declining trend in domestic inflation. Let's have more details of that in this report. Prospects in the global economy have improved since the last Monetary Policy Committee, according to Buha Saidi, the central bank governor. This is due to strength of the United States economy and some large emerging market economies, supported by both demand and supply factors. Sustained private and government spending in most economies, combined with favorable supply developments, contributed to the improvement.
Against this backdrop, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, in its January World Economic Outlook WEO, updates forecast global economic growth at 3.1% in 2024, the same level as the estimate for 2023. However, the projections for 2023 and 2024 are still lower than the historical average of 3.8%.
Governor Saidi said global headline inflation continues to decelerate as moderating energy and food prices, along with monetary tightening, continue to exert significant downward pressure on inflation in most regions. The IMF estimated global headline inflation for 2023 at 6.8% and revised the forecast for 2024 downwards by 0.2% points to 5.8%. The central bank governor said international commodity prices continued to decline, driven by the fall in prices of food, metals, and copper that outweighed the surge in crude oil prices. The IMF All Commodity Prices Index fell by 0.3% in January 2024 from the level it was in December 2022 and by 12.9% from a year ago. Here is Boa Saidi again.
The World Bank forecast rice prices to increase by 6.0% in 2024, underpinned by trade restrictions, adverse weather conditions, and geopolitical uncertainties.
On the domestic front, Mr. Saidi said the Gambian economy continues its resilience, registering a growth rate above the average for sub-Saharan Africa. The central bank governor went on to say that the foreign exchange market remains vibrant with stable activity volumes and that Dalasi continues to be stable, depreciating only modestly year on year against major international trading currencies in 2023.
It depreciated against the US dollar by 3.8%, the euro by 10.8%, the pound sterling by 12.7%, and the CFA franc by 14.2%. Central Bank continues to hold comfortable levels of international reserves amounting to $475.3 million in January 2024, which is sufficient to finance over 5 months of prospective imports of goods and services.
On the government debt, Mr. Saidi has this to say.
The government's domestic debt rose by 8.4% to $41.3 billion, or 29.4% of GDP in 2023, from $38.1 billion, or 31.7% of GDP in 2022.
On the area of inflation, Saidi said inflation declined for the second consecutive month, reflecting the impact of the moderating global commodity prices and domestic policy actions. For QTV News, I am Juldenjai. Interesting revelations there. Well, the report takes us to a commercial break. When we return, we have more local and international news stories for you. Do stay tuned.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GCCI, brings to you on the 17th edition of the Trade Fair Gambia International. Come along with friends and family to get a taste of the food, glimpse of the fashion and cosmetics, and so much more from over 500 local and international businesses. 30 whole days of the opportunity to network, party, and shop till you drop. All this and more available only at the GCCI Trade Fair grounds from the 10th of February to the 10th of March, 2024. Join us for 1 month of endless possibilities.
Never before in the Gambia, QCell is giving you an unbeatable offer. Activate our 5G network on your 5G-enabled phone and enjoy free internet for 7 days. Yes, you heard that right. Activate QCell's 5G on your phone and experience what true 5G internet feels like. Get your QCell SIM cards activated today at the following care centers: Banjul, Senegambia, Brikama, Bursubi Turntable, Bakau Airport, and Kairaba Avenue headquarters. Rush now and be part of the future with QCell's 5G. Free internet for 7 days only with QCell. For more information, call QCell Customer Care on 111. QCell Sunyubus. We innovate. Orders follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is QTV News with me, Jul Denjai, and now to the rest of our stories. MRC unit, the Gambia, has upgraded its insectary, which is where scientists at the unit study insects to limit or reduce the spread of infectious diseases in Africa, including the Gambia. As QTV Momodou Lamin Choi reports, the insectary plays a critical role in malaria control research in the sub-region.
The MRC unit, the Gambia, is celebrating an upgrade to its entomology laboratory. A key component of the entomology lab is an insectary, which is a resource for research on vector-borne diseases, particularly malaria. Dr. Jackie Cook is a co-director of the Malaria Center at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine.
I want to extend huge congratulations to the entomology team and to the unit as a whole for this new insectary, and I think it's going to be very exciting to see the work and the collaborations that come out of this, and the potential to become a reference centre in the region as well, I think is very exciting.
Inside the insectary, colonies of mosquitoes are being reared and studied for malaria control research. In this lab, entomologists study the efficacy of insecticides and indoor residual sprayings by looking for signs of resistance of the mosquitoes and test new types of insecticides that can be used, for instance, to treat bed nets. Dr. Mamadou Usman Jet is the Vector Biology and Malaria Laboratory Facility Manager at the MRC unit, the Gambia.
Now you'll be able to know, because you have different type of mosquitoes and they have different virulence of transmission. Which one transmit more than the other one? To answer this question, you need to have this kind of platform where you grow different mosquitoes, you infect them with parasite, and see how long the evolution of the parasite will take inside the mosquitoes.
Scientists believe that a key defense against an infectious disease like malaria is understanding the Anopheles vector, the mosquito that carries the malaria parasite, which are the subject of research in this insectary. Alfuseni Mane is the Principal Nursing Officer of the National Malaria Control Program at the Ministry of Health.
Insects play a crucial role in the transmission of various diseases, and by studying their biology and behavior, we can better understand how to combat threats to public health.
Beyond the humid lab of this insectary, the research outcomes have far-reaching impact on malaria control and elimination efforts across the continent. Professor Asan J. is the head of research training and career development at the MRC.
So this is a platform that will have a wide-ranging use for research, for malaria, but also for other potentially emerging infections. But we are particularly proud to have it evolve to this state of the art, because it becomes a platform that represents the West Africa region as a whole.
Malaria is a common enemy of the African continent, and in 2022, the region was home to 94% of malaria cases, 233 million, and 95%, 580,000 of malaria deaths. By upgrading their insectary to international standard, MRC Unit the Gambia has become better positioned to attract scientific research on vector-borne diseases on the continent, to promote and safeguard public health in the Gambia and beyond. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Congratulations to MRC Unit the Gambia for the upgrade. Now, the Ministry of Health's Directorate of Health Research, in collaboration with the World Health Organization, concluded the 5th edition of the National Health Research Conference on Wednesday. Let's have more details of that in this report. Research in the health sector can provide important information about disease trends and risk factors, outcomes of treatment or public health interventions, functional abilities, patterns of care, and healthcare cost and use. The different approaches to research provides complementary insights. This is the 5th edition of the National Health Research Conference, with attendees drawn from the University of the Gambia, MRC Unit de Gambia, and other research institutions. Their research focuses on COVID-19, cancer, environmental issues, and antibiotics use in animals, among other issues. Here is Seni Sane, Director of Research at the Ministry of Health.
Our authors who actually boldly respond to our call when we actually send in the call for submission of protocols. I think you are giants because, we had a lot of submissions that actually came when we called for them, and going through the screening of the submissions that we received. Your papers were actually the best that we think we could have gone based on the theme that we set this conference for. We want to especially acknowledge for your submission, your answer to our call, but also we want to also thank you for the efforts you put in to do that particular work with all your sponsors as well as your supervisors.
Mr. Sane elaborated on some of the challenges hindering health research in the Gambia.
It has been realized that there's always a gap between researchers and policymakers, research and decision makers. Researchers will do their bit, but now for the findings or the results of the research actually to be put into practice, to inform our policy, to inform our decisions, as well as resource allocations. That's where we have the gaps.
Dr. Abdul Karim Sise, Assistant Professor of Genomics at MRC Unit de Gambia, highlights the importance of research in every aspect of life.
You cannot have development and innovation without somebody doing research. And doing research in country, in where you are in a setting, is so important. We don't actually realize how valuable we are as a commodity. I say that as a commodity in some way. So our populations, because of the diversity of populations, is quite important in research. We are burdened with diseases more than anywhere else in the world, in our continent. But actually, if we don't take control of what we do, then the agenda in terms of what the focus would not be set by us.
Yeroba, Regional Director of Health Services for the Lower River Region, says he is impressed by the number of young people involved in research and urges them to continue their good work.
And this conference definitely is a forum that would serve as a platform to disseminate whatever information whatever results that has been obtained from our researchers. I think we need to encourage this kind of a conference.
It is hoped that this convergence will enable policymakers to make the best use of the findings in decision-making. For QTV News, I am Julde Njai.
The report there takes us to news beyond our borders. Now, March the 1st is Zero Discrimination Day annually, and people all over the world celebrate the strides made in the fight against stigmatization and promote equality before the law and in practice. Lolly M. Kamara takes a closer look at the day unfurled in this report.
Zero Discrimination Day was first celebrated on March 1st, 2014, and was launched on the 27th of February the same year with a major event in Beijing. For the 10th anniversary this year, the theme is to protect everyone's health, protect everyone's right. According to the World Health Organization, Zero Discrimination Day started with a focus on HIV to highlight how people can become informed about and protect the rights of people living with and affected by HIV. It is also important to note that the day highlights how people can become informed about and promote inclusion, compassion, peace, and above all, a movement for change, and is helping to create a global movement of solidarity to end all forms of discrimination. Organizations like UNAIDS are well known for their efforts to combat discrimination against people living with HIV and AIDS, and they continue to ensure quality and fairness for everyone, regardless of gender, age, sexuality, ethnicity, or HIV status. The executive director of UNAIDS, Winnie Bainma, said, and I quote, The attacks on rights are a threat to freedom and democracy and are harmful to health. Stigma and discrimination obstruct HIV prevention, testing, treatment and care, and hold back progress towards ending AIDS by 2030. It is only by protecting everyone's right that we can protect everyone's health. End of quote. Zero Discrimination Day, as it helps to raise awareness of the significance of tolerating differences and actively celebrating them. It involves creating space where everyone feels valued, understood, and accepted, regardless of background or characteristics. Throughout the month of March, events and activities will be held to remind the world of this important lesson and call to action. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
That report there brings us to the end of this bulletin, but before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. 3 RSK contractors working on the OIC Roads construction project have died after they were hit by a car on Monday. As negotiations intensify at the ongoing WTO MC13 in Abu Dhabi, Gambia's Minister of Trade, Babukar Ojuf, has pleaded for constructive engagements with members to facilitate the adoption of the G90 framework. At its quarterly meeting to assess economic developments and monetary policy, the Central Bank of the Gambia has maintained the monetary policy rate at 17%. MRC Unit the Gambia has upgraded to international standard its insectary, which is where scientists at the unit study insects to limit or reduce the spread of infectious diseases in Africa. In international news, today, March the 1st, is Zero Discrimination Day, commemorated annually to accelerate the strides made in the fight against stigma and promote equality. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Do join us tomorrow again at 8 p.m. for another bulletin. Many thanks indeed for the pleasure of your company. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.